Happening now, first at 4, buckle up. According to a new report, we are in for a bumpy ride when it comes to Michigan's roads. Happening now, Phase 2, a popular Jackson landmark, gets a big boost in funding for its next renovation phase. Happening now, it's 39 degrees under mostly sunny skies on the campus of Michigan State University in East Lansing.
From your breaking news and weather authority, this is News 10 First at 4.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kirk Montgomery. Our Friday broadcast begins with a rough ride ahead when it comes to Michigan roads. In fact, the roads may get worse before they get even better. MDOT's Roads Innovation Task Force says that state road conditions have declined from 82% to 54%, despite the $1.2 billion road funding package that was signed back in November. MDOT tells us the reason road conditions are down is because the state didn't act sooner.
The decline comes from lack of investment that we know if you don't spend, a certain amount of money. I mean, you can look at pavement curves and you can see that it needs this much investment over this many years. And the last time Michigan passed a tax increase, 4 cents for gas, was 1997.
He says to have better roads, taxpayers may have to pay more. The task force is looking at other states' roads and how they maintain them. MDOT is expected to give legislation their final report in June. Rest stops are just one of the places the state hopes to reach victims of human trafficking. Lawmakers have okayed a bill that would require trafficking notices at rest stops, airports, bus and train stations, and strip clubs. The goal is to put these notices in places where traffickers bring victims and serve as possible means of escape for victims or rescue by members of the public. The bill is now on its way to the governor. And a local business is making a generous donation to the Cascades renovation project. Waste hauler Emmons is donating $10,000 to the next phase of the massive renovation project. Phase 1 was finished last May, which included getting rid of the cement wall, better seating, and new lighting. The next phase will include renovations to the electrical, mechanical, and plumbing components, as well as 2 splash pads at the base of the Cascades. In other news from around the state police are investigating another incident where a laser was pointed at one of its helicopters. The chopper was patrolling over Saginaw last Friday when the crew saw a flash on the ground before the beam shined into the cockpit. Police on the ground located a man who claims he didn't know he was aiming it at a police helicopter. Well, he now faces a federal charge. 2 days before, someone pointed a laser into a state police helicopter over Detroit, temporarily blinding an officer. A group of National Guard troops eating lunch this week got an unexpected surprise. Their $200 bill at the Corner Bar in Rockford was picked up by a stranger. The person who paid the tab wanted to remain anonymous, telling the manager it was a small sign of appreciation for their service. But the troops were grateful nonetheless.
You're always surprised when something generous and nice and thoughtful happens, but you're not surprised in the same sense too. It's a great community. There's always heartwarming stuff going on in Rockford and the Corner Bar. It's pretty cool.
We're always grateful for the little things. It's great to see the general public supporting us and doing the little things.
Vanneman and the staff at the Corner Bar were also touched and are planning a catering event at the Armory for all the troops who didn't get a chance to come that day, and the restaurant is covering the bill. We also have some good news to share about one of the Kalamazoo shooting victims. 14-year-old Abigail Kopp is now able to get out of bed on her own. Her family posted an update on their fundraising page saying her therapy is going well. Abigail entered a rehab facility in Grand Rapids a couple of weeks ago. Since then, she's been able to take steps, is laughing and talking, and is now able to eat soft foods. The man accused of shooting her, another woman, and killing 6 others is currently undergoing a mental evaluation to see if he's fit to stand trial. There are new developments this afternoon on this week's deadly bombings in Brussels. Police have confirmed one of the suicide bombers at the airport was the suspected bomb maker whose DNA was found on a suicide vest and bombs used in the Paris attacks. We're also learning the top suspect in the Paris attacks, Salah Abdeslam, has stopped cooperating with police. Prosecutors say he no longer wants to talk and has refused to make the slightest comment when questioned just after Tuesday's bombings in Brussels. 3 people have been detained in counterterrorism raids in Brussels today. 2 of them were shot in the leg, including the man seen here in this amateur video taken atop a tram stop. Belgium's media says that person was carrying a bag of explosive materials. And today's raids took place at the same time Secretary of State John Kerry was in Brussels. The Prime Minister had to skip a wreath-laying ceremony at the Brussels airport because of the ongoing police operation. Kerry reiterated President Obama's remarks that the U.S. stands firmly behind Belgium, saying the international community will not be intimidated by violent attacks by extremists.
We will not be deterred. And we will come back with greater resolve, with greater strength, and we will not rest until we have eliminated your nihilistic beliefs and cowardice from the face of this earth.
Kerry said despite failing to stop Tuesday's attacks, Belgium had made significant improvements over the past year. He noted that Belgium had actively sought additional assistance and that about a dozen FBI agents are now in Brussels helping with the investigation. A brother and sister from New York are among the 31 people killed in Tuesday's attacks. Sasha and Alexander Pinchowski had just arrived at the airport when the bombs went off. 2 other Americans, Justin Schultz and his wife Stephanie, are still missing. They were also last seen at the airport. Stephanie's mother is in Brussels going from hospital to hospital, still searching for them. And one of the Americans injured in the bombings at the airport is speaking about the experience today. 19-year-old Mason Wells of Utah is a missionary with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The teen and 2 colleagues had just dropped off a fellow missionary when explosions ripped through the building. Wells says he was about 60 feet from the blasts, which left 2nd and 3rd degree burns on his hands and face and shrapnel in his leg and foot.
I actually saw fire in front of my face and on the ground around me, and I know that the burns came from that. My body was kind of lifted off the ground during the first blast. It was very loud. And I started running towards the exit. A lot of people started running towards the exit. And I'd taken a couple steps. About 3 seconds later, the second blast went off, and it went off to my right, and I could feel the blast. But I don't believe that I was hit with anything from the second blast. I could just feel the impact wave.
And remarkably, this was not Wells' first brush with terror. He was in Paris in November when the attacks happened there, and was also in Boston, watching his mother run the marathon in 2013 when bombs went off and killed 3 people and injured several others. A suicide bomber attacked a soccer stadium near Baghdad today, killing 29 people and wounding 60 others. No one has yet claimed responsibility, but ISIS has been waging a campaign of suicide bombings in and around the Iraqi capital. Today's bombings come as the U.S. announced plans to increase the number of American troops in Iraq. U.S. defense officials have yet to say how big that increase may be.